Good afternoon to everyone in this part of the world. Good morning and good evening to those tuning in from abroad. I would like to welcome you all to the 15th edition of our Mentoring Talks series and the third edition of the virtual mentoring lectureship via WebEx. Here at the American University of Beirut AUB in Lebanon, the Mentoring Talks series is a central pillar of our transformative education drive. This series strives to inspire students and give them the opportunity to meet accomplished individuals from different walks of life who are willing to share their stories of failure and adversity. Quote, "Success is going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm." End of quote. And failure is not a step backward. It is actually the ultimate stepping stone to success. Today's speaker is a journalist of the highest caliber. He is a public speaker, a chemical engineer, an Ayubite, and he is none other than the distinguished Ricardo Karam. Ricardo is renowned for his eloquence, professionalism, humility, and most importantly, integrity. Founder of Takreem, a platform which rewards Arabs who excel in their fields, and TechMinds, another platform which brings together new talents and change makers. Our speaker strives to uphold dialogue and build bridges between people. Quote, "Discuss and remember rather than attack and forget." End of quote is a concise statement of his mission. Ricardo is known to be an unbiased source, an artist who paints with the brush of truth, refusing to ever betray his values, and building an illustrious, untouchable reputation in the process. Throughout his ongoing rich career, Ricardo has conversed with some of the world's most powerful and influential figures in enchanting interviews that have left countless viewers in awe. But Rome was not built in a day, and greatness can never be attained with the blink of an eye. And the speaker we see in the spotlight today has spent years behind the scenes honing his skills, perfecting his craft, and overcoming all the hurdles and failures along the way. It is thus my utmost pleasure to have Ricardo here today and to give him the floor so he could share with us his incredible journey and teach us the lessons he learned the hard way. Ricardo, welcome home. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaafarani. It's my pleasure to be with you. I believe that you have been so generous to me and you've been so nice to me. I think that my journey is like any other journey. Maybe a little bit more difficult, maybe more upheaval than common people. These are things that I scarcely talk about, but today we are here to open up and to share. I believe in life sharing is what matters. I give you, you give me. I scratch your back, you scratch my back again. So, life is very interesting and very beautiful. And this is why we all strive to live it fully. And now more than any time, we want to benefit out of every second. I believe that today we have understood the value of every single moment. And every person who is with us tonight and this evening or this morning, depending where he or she is, we found out and we have discovered the inner value of this big treasure called life. Well, I think that many of you know me and some of you do not. My name is Ricardo Karam, and for more than 20 years now, I've been bringing some of the world's most inspiring stories to the Arab world's TV screens, acknowledging the region's unsung heroes, via Takim, a decade-old foundation, and sparking conversations between today's movers and shakers through conferences, workshops, forums, etc. Basically, connecting people and with people by letting them share a part of their stories, accomplishments, a part of their fears, their questions, and ultimately their hopes. Today, I'd like to share with you, in a nutshell, some of the teachings I've gathered on this long journey, a journey of meeting so many people from different countries, nationalities, races, colors, religions, different walks of life, different backgrounds. But let me start by telling you how much of a pleasure it is for me to share this moment with you. It's true that you have been jumping in and out of online calls for most of the past year, and even if one grows wary of talking to a little camera on their phone or laptop screen, I cannot help but feel happy whenever I get the chance to connect with young people like you. It does not mean I'm an old guy, but let's say I'm a little bit less younger than you. It's true that I would have preferred to do this real life, to be present physically, but using any of the digital platforms that have mushroomed over the last years also works for me. If I can share some of what I have learned along the way with you so that you can internalize it, make this knowledge your own, and go out in the world feeling both stronger and lighter. I know these two words, strong and light, really seem like a weird combination when put together side by side, but bear with me and you'll get what I'm talking about. It goes without saying that the times we're going through, as I've mentioned at the beginning of this keynote, are like nothing any one of us has ever lived before, and that the world are going to step back in once this pandemic gives ground is as much of a mystery today as it was a year ago when we were watching videos of hospitals being built at record speed in China, not knowing how the same threat would be turning the entire world upside down a few weeks later. Today, we live in a world where everyone is a bit more vulnerable, where everyone needs a bit more comfort. Unfortunately, as human beings, we always tend to show ourselves in a more favorable way, which ends up hurting both us and the people that we interact with. We polish our image. We iron out the crinkles. We sweep the failures under the rug. We put on a big smile. Even more so when we are being seen. And aren't we all being seen currently on Instagram stories, Facebook posts, and selfies, with masks, of course. I know the younger generation is on your platforms, but I will not even pretend I know what they are or how they work. This is the truth. But I'm telling you all of this for a simple reason, which will be the main theme of my talk today. This polished image is just that, an image. Trust me, I have made a life out of publishing TV interviews, documentaries, books, taking part, participating into forums, conferences, giving talks, and all sorts of works that are thought of, written or shot, then edited and readjusted until they reach their shareable form. What we offer to the world is but a final cut. Only when we know what has not made it through, only when we know about the long nights preparing scripts, questions, the airports and the planes and backstories that lie behind every encounter. That one question that made a guest tear up and that we decided to remove from the aired interview. And this statement is as valid for interviews and books as it is for us, people. We filter, we follow trends, and we offer people the version of ourselves we think they will accept, we think they will love more. Well, before the COVID-19 and medical masks were a thing, we had already been putting on a social mask for most of our lives. We must be positive. We must look strong. We must sound smart. We have to seem caring. We have to be outraged. We have been so busy cutting down on carbs and authenticity that when the time came to stay home and take off the mask, we did not know what to do anymore. So we went on social media and we started scrolling down and down and thought everyone, every single person was being super productive. Baking banana breads, learning a new language or musical instrument, attending online classes, when we were all going for the same thing. We all had more downs than ups. Usually, here is the part where the speaker says something along the lines of, I would like you to take a moment and imagine, and then sets up an ideal scenario. But no, I want you to take more than just a moment to imagine it. I would like you to go about your days knowing that you have a choice to let go of this mask, to understand the pictures that make it on our social media feeds and achievements that make it on our CVs are only what makes the final cut. At the end of the day, we are all a mix of so many things, equally happy and sad, strong and fragile, confident and scared. And the soonest we accept this reality, the soonest we'll be able to navigate through life in a smoother way and be kinder to ourselves and to others too. Let us watch this 60 seconds video and I will pursue my talk.
تغلبوا على واقعهم، أحدثوا تغيير وصاروا القصة. ريكاردو كارام تقاهن، قابلن وحاورن. لقاءات حصرية، وثائقيات من العمر وبرامج بتفتح الآفاق، تعطي إيجابية وأمل وقدرة على الحلم. ريكاردو كارام يوتيوب شانل، قناة كل الأجيال.
Well, it's not even 60 seconds, it's much less, 30 seconds. But however, it allows us to go into the mood of what we might tackle and talk about tonight. I know what you're thinking of at this point. Okay, it's all pretty talk and inspirational material that isn't backed by anything. So I have gathered 4 stories for you. These 4 stories I would like to share with you have allowed me to learn or have taught me a great deal about shedding one's preconceived idea at the door, empathy and authenticity. And I hope that by retelling them, I offer them to you. Let us start with the hardest of them all. Shedding one's preconceived ideas at the door of a meeting. In this day and age, it's safe to say we have very deeply rooted opinions about people we've never talked to. More so than at any point in human history. Who lies behind these names? Who lies behind these decisions? Behind these actions? What to do once we get the opportunity to meet them in person? How do we try and make room for dialogue? A few months back, I've interviewed President Michel. Beyond the controversy, let me tell you the story behind that encounter. Interviewing a president, a high honor. Interviewing the controversial president of a collapsing country, turning 100 years old, less than a month after a catalysmic explosion disfigured its capital, necessity, a challenge, a big one, a tough one. Interviewing President Michel Aoun on the 30th of the year 2020 was an experience like no other throughout my recent years of practice. Talks had been ongoing for a while to organize this much needed conversation with the president. And despite initial hesitations to mark the centenary with any media appearances, the Babda Palace gave the green light, gave its go-ahead 24 hours prior to the interview. I had just enough time to prepare my questions. I had to prepare an interview that was bound to be a challenging one, and it was impossible for me to ignore the non-stop beeps of incoming messages I was receiving from friends, acquaintances, and strangers. Some people were angry without even knowing what the interview would sound like. Others were asking me to carry the questions and worries. I had a responsibility. I had to stay true to myself and the principles of respect, authenticity, and dialogue that I have been upholding for more than 2 decades, all the while ensuring that this interview wouldn't leave the Lebanese people feeling that they've been cheated, like their chance to hear what the president had to say about their struggle had been hijacked by sugar-coated questions or the angry exchanges we've all grown used to when politicians face a TV camera. I left Babda. I left the Babda Palace that evening with the satisfaction of a job well done, a job I was able to carry out, a direct, smooth, fruitful, true conversation with our head of state. Some have accused me of helping the palace polish President Aoun's tarnished image, but I do not see things through that lens. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not here to celebrate or belittle the people I interview. I'm here to ask the questions that are on everyone's mind. What each spectator does with the answers belongs to each one of them. Truth be told, this is not an easy exercise. But with me, I have noticed that shedding my preconceived ideas before meeting someone I know, without having talked to them, has always helped me make the most of the conversation, whether the camera is rolling or not. Another time, this proved right, was also last year, with another of my guests, and she will be illustrating my next point. Empathy being the next point on our list, and Tamara Shanaoun is the next guest I would like to tell you about. For those who do not know her, Tamara, the granddaughter of late President Camille Shanaoun, and the daughter of Dan and Ingrid Shanaoun, who were savagely killed alongside their two sons in their house during the war, in the year 1990 exactly. Tamara was 9 months old at the time. I know what really knows how she escaped the massacre. Some people say the nanny has hidden her in the closet, and some people say because she was a girl, they left her sleeping in her bed. Nobody was there to tell the truth, but she survived. And then you meet her. She's a smart, centered, kind woman who has come a long way to overcome the consequences of the past she does not remember living. That when people meet Tamara for the first time knowing her story, they feel a lot of emotions atop the preconceived ideas I was talking about earlier. Emotions are quick to label as empathy. Now, it's important to know that empathy does not mean sympathy, pity, or sorrow. Empathy goes beyond those emotions. It's taking the time to try and understand how someone's life changed after a certain event or loss. That is cognitive empathy. Emotional empathy is when you take it one step further and try as much as you can to connect that thing to something you can relate to from your own journey. Compassionate empathy is taking all your thoughts and feelings and turning them into action. This was Tamara's first media appearance ever. The first time we met was on August 4th, 5:30 p.m. We were at the Grey Hotel, and we had reached our last question. It was 6:08, and it was Beirut last. And the hotel was destroyed on us, and we were severely injured. And everything we've done vanished. Disappeared. I wanted Tamara to give a positive image, to tell the people who were fleeing, who were leaving Lebanon prior to the Beirut explosion, to tell them I've lost everything, but here I am in Lebanon. I could have pursued my life abroad and remained in Switzerland, but I came back to remain here for the land is what matters. To be home is what matters. Everything goes, but the land endures. And everything vanished. I had to meet again. 1.5 months after. It was on the occasion, the 30th anniversary of the killing of a family, of the massacre of a family. And for the first time, I felt like I was not facing a guest, rather than I was accompanying them. My third story is that of a princess. Princess Sharial of Egypt taught me how to be vulnerable. I wanted to prepare a documentary, or let's say a docu-series, on King Farouk, Egypt's king, and I wanted to track down his children, his grandchildren. It was not an easy thing. It took me over 2 or 3 years to spot them all, and took me time to convince them to be on TV. Sharial was very reluctant, and she had stayed out of the public eye her entire life, living a quasi-anonymous life in Switzerland. Before I met her, we have ignited and have built up a friendship via the phone. And then she accepted to meet me. I flew to Geneva. I took a car and I drove with my GPS for a couple of hours. She was living in a small village outside Lausanne, and even my GPS was unable to spot her address, where she was living. I had to meet her many times for her to let her guards down and see me for who I am and what I was trying to communicate through this project. Make sure that I was not just intruding and picturing her in a way that would be detrimental to her. We both took off our masks. I was not a journalist. She was not a princess. And by acknowledging the human part of each other, we were able to establish a bond of trust. This took time that no one would suspect when seeing the result. We had that interview, and it was the interview that had the highest rating in the history of TV, the Arab world. It was a Saudi network, NBC and Arabia, and everybody watched it. Egypt, South, North, Cairo, all over. People were glued on TV, listening to her. And this is when people found out and understood that everything that was written and said and told about King Farouk and his family was not true. Those people had the titles, but they had no money. They were the royal highnesses and their majesties. The throne is true, but no money. And they lived, and they worked, and they were like you and me and every person. And for decades, so that I know that. And through a TV interview, it took us years to prepare, to get a green light, and to record. Everything's changed. My last story is not about idol, not about royal. It's a very personal one that taught me authenticity. I'm a father of 3 boys. Met Bilal Nadim and Sharif. Nadim is a better one. Nadim, he had cancer. I was at the prime of my career. Do not expect something so big to hit you this suddenly and turn your life upside down. Being in the public eye, I had two choices. Keep it under wraps or share my experience so that other parents would know that they are not this alone. I picked the second. Our story became public. Our story became public knowledge because we became relatable, because we shattered this idea, picture, perfect, and shared the upheaval of the world. Nadim struggled a lot. It was an agony. It was a nightmare. It was a tough ordeal. But at the same time, it changed me. It made me definitely a better person. All my perspectives changed. All my vision of life changed. And for me, nothing mattered except life itself. Life that teaches us every single day something new. It made me a better person. It made me love more. It made me use my heart and go back to my heart for every single decision I take or I make. At a smaller scale, it will be the equivalent of equally posting honest pictures of yourself during the lockdown day that you feel down and not just that you feel on top of your game. Those were my 4 stories, my 4 examples. I think that now the quote unquote strong and light idea is clearer to you. My sincere advice, do not forget to be kind, but also do not forget your power. Do not trust screens and what makes the final cut, the filtered version of people. Build real bonds, even with near encounters, and make sure that when loved ones are in trouble, feel down. You are the one they come to see, to be with, for comfort, rather than the one who made them feel alienated in the first place, because you have been shown a polished version of yourself that smoothed over the sadder parts. Just embrace it all and live with an open heart. And now, I leave it up to you. If you'd like to have a Q&A, an exchange of ideas, of opinions, all of this.
Thank you so much. On behalf of all the attendees, I would like to sincerely thank you, Ricardo, for such an inspiring mentoring talk. For questions, I ask the audience to enter your question in the Q&A box. Please indicate where you are coming from and what you do. I'll be asking the questions, and Ricardo will be answering these questions. So go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A.
I need to answer the questions right away.
Okay. First question, why always aim to very controversial people? Is there a point you are trying to convey? This is a question by Maroon Ibrahim from AUB.
Hello, Maroon. I don't think I've interviewed so many controversial people in my life, but I've loved to find them and to spot them. There were not too many. And people, if I find any and I fall on a controversial figure, definitely I'll go for it because people love controversies, people love polemic. People not for flat news and for flat content. And I think for any journalist going so deep and trying to get the best out of I guess it is the pinnacle of success. Excuse me, I think Dr. Kaafarani, we need to mute yourself exactly, but it's better now. I remember a long time ago when I met Adnan Khashoggi. Of course, my generation grew, and the name Khashoggi was the most prominent one in the world of business and tycoons and money and boats and you always say, when you grow, you're going to be as rich as Khashoggi. So when I met him, and it took me, I believe, more than a couple of years to convince him to be on my set, my guest, I knew that it was going to be a big success. This is what happened. And I believe that specific night when it was on my show had the highest rating. People love controversial figures. But if you need to sum up all the people I've met had controversies in their life, I would love that, but not to me.
This question is coming from Zena Azain. She is currently in Brazil. The question is, does the fact that you lived abroad make you see Lebanon and its mixture of people in different perspectives and value these differences more?
First of all, I haven't lived abroad. I was born in Venezuela in South America, not very far from where you are, but I've lived all my life in Lebanon. I'm pure Lebanese, from Lebanese parents, Lebanese descent. I'm an Ayyubite. AUB helped me a lot and shaped my personality and my way of thinking, of looking at others, of accepting others. I learned compassion. I learned tolerance at AUB. So this is why, I always look at people never in a judgmental way. I'm going to tell you a story, anecdote. It's a very funny one. I first studied at AUB at the off-campus program in Ashrafiyeh. At the time, we had a campus for people living in the eastern side of Beirut because the roads were blocked and we couldn't join the campus. And when in 1990 I was sophomore still, we had the war between Lebanese forces and the Lebanese army, the conflict and the war conflict. We had to leave and to go and settle at the main campus. And it was for us not even an adventure, more than that. We're afraid to walk on the street. We're afraid from the other. We thought that the other people from other communities were going, to jump on us and to eat us. We thought they were predators. And then living the life on that campus changed our whole way of thinking. And we understood that prejudices were born because they were not in a mixed compound. This is what Lebanon is about. It's not a compound. It's a whole spirit of diversity, of people coming from different walks of life. And I learned never to ask the second person where he's coming from. From what village are you coming from? We try to be smart, not to ask the person, to which community do you belong? This is how most of the people are. But trust me, when you live, on that campus, and you learn a lot, and you become what the UB has always strived for and worked to achieve in every single student. So I'm an UBITE product, and I'm proud of
that. We are also very proud to have you as an UBITE. This question is from Michelle Sfire. She's a registered nurse at the UBMC. I would like to ask concerning the dealing with controversial people. You see, at our work, we tend to do sometimes, and we have to shed our beliefs and serve them with best care possible. Your advice? What's your advice on this?
First of all, thank you so much. And we need to thank you, all your colleagues, for the work you're doing. It's not an easy thing, to work in hospitals and to work in healthcare nowadays. And we cannot but go to you and be grateful for everything you've been doing. I believe that in life we need to deal with people as human beings, irrespective, whether controversial or not, whether on the same border or not, sharing the same political views or opinions or not, sharing the same faith or not. This is not what matters. What matters, is to serve humanity. So whether that person is a criminal or not, does not matter. You need, to do your work, and you had an oath, and you had a pledge, and you need to abide and to comply to that. And I think this is what every one of us should do, whatever his position, his status, his profession is. Whether you're a professor, whether you are a cook, whether you are a driver, whatever your profession is, we need to achieve, our goal fully, and to serve people because they are people, because they are human. And the rest, let's put it aside.
This question is coming from Abdurrahman Khalifa from Sudan. Thank you for the inspiring lessons. As someone who is shifting into a career of storytelling, I'm studying public health. He's studying public health. Wonder what is best mindset to have when looking for stories from the field.
I did not get the question.
Wonder what is the best mindset to have when looking for stories from the field?
I think that stories from the field, stories of people, really people, the most interesting aspect in the life of a journalist, because they are real stories. They are more real, and they relate to each and every one. And we are focusing on that lately, and we are spending time, and we are giving space for those kinds of stories. But if you need to sell, and here I'm talking about TV stations with which we collaborate, they all look for either stories that go to the extreme, okay, because they are scandalous, TVs or media outlets that are scandalous, or renowned figures. So those kinds of stories, for us to be able to sell them and to have space for them on TV is not an easy task. So this is why today the online thing is helping us to have those kinds of guests, and to have the online interviews, and to have the online segments and reports and stories, and to allow people to engage with them, to listen to them, to live with them, and to learn from them. Yes, stories from the field are definitely what each and every real journalist will be looking at and trying to get hold of.
This question is coming from Angela Khoury from Atlanta. I missed Atlanta. I did my postdoc there and my sabbatical there. The question is, what is the best way, in your opinion, to engage in a productive conversation with people who have totally opposite opinions? And thank you for your stories.
Thank you so much. First of all, you've got 5 senses, and in any interview, we need to allow the different senses we have to work and to engage. We need to listen. We need to hear. We need to feel. And we need to smell. We need to touch. We need to understand the other. we need to create a dialogue with the other. We need to create an engaging exchange. We do not need to go toward the other with preconceived ideas, with the feelings of hatred, and the feeling of willingness to kill between brackets, of course. On the contrary, each one of us, even if we're so different, we've got something that is positive. We all need to dare to listen to the other. Listening needs courage and requires courage. I repeat, we need to dare to listen. Because people with each other, and we're not on the same wavelength, when they sit together, they come with their preconceived ideas, and they do not listen to what the other person is going to say. So my advice in life, whoever the second person is, whether political belief, ideological belief, cultural background, whatever, we need to listen to another, because there's always something to say, to enrich us, to give us, and to feed us with.
Let me move to the next question. This question is from Sahar Hamzi from Lebanon. What is your greatest strength and weakness? She's putting you on the spot.
Nice question and a tough one. My strength, I think I'm real and I'm comfortable in my skin. And my weakness, that also I'm real. And I have much empathy. And empathy sometimes weakens the human being. And that's it.
This question from Basil Bakr. He's an IT person here at AUB. Who impacted you the most when you interviewed him or her, and why? And who is the person who you like to interview her, him again?
Interesting question. When I started my TV career, I was too young. I was 21 years old. And I had the chance of meeting incredible people, remarkable ones. And I never thought that I would be able to get hold of them and to chase them and to win their presence on my shows. If I go back, there are many interviews I've done that have impacted people and that people remember. When I look at them today and I watch them, I find myself very, very, very weak, which is normal. I was at the beginning. But however, they happened. And they were my passport and my visa to the whole world. And the reason why I was able to get this highest number of scoops worldwide was because at the point of time, I had in my credentials this pool of big names. And if you want to ask me how I was able to get them, I tell you, I don't know how. I'm workaholic and I don't give up. I don't surrender easily. A long time ago, we had no email, writing letters and sending letters and faxes. And for us to be able to find the address, and the fax number, the phone number, for those people, it was, an adventure by itself. And whenever I used to receive a no or an answer, no did not exist in the dictionary, I was waiting, for an occasion, for the New Year, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for a photo, I was waiting for occasions to write again. I think many of them at the end of the day, they said, come on, he's so persuasive and he's spinning the ass and let's give the interview. And they gave me the interview. And so many interviews, I'd love them to be redone again, but unfortunately, many of my guests passed away and are not with us anymore. You know, I was in my 20s. I interviewed people in their 70s, 80s, the biggest tycoons worldwide. You know, I had Pavarotti, I had Mandela, I had Dalai Lama, I had Charles Navour, I had Valentino, I had forgot Nicholas Hayek. But one of the nicest interviews definitely was one of Nicholas Hayek. Hayek, by the way, you know, is from Lebanese origin, and he was the one who has created these watches. At the time in the 70s, there was a big flux, a big attack of the Japanese watches. And you remember Citizen, Psycho, Casio, those watches, you know, came and for nothing people used to buy them. And they have took the market share of the Swiss watches. So the Swiss industry went down, and Switzerland lost a lot of its GDP. So what happened? Nicholas Hayek created small watches. He called them Swatch. S next to watch, Swatch. And used to buy those watches at $30, $35. And they were from different colors and different designs. And those watches, imagine, you know, they have balanced the Japanese watches, and the Swiss industry regained and re-embraced its glory because of him. And he became the biggest tycoon in the history of Switzerland. And of course, afterwards, he has bought the biggest brands that are historical. Bellier, Plantin, Tissot, etc. And he had the biggest watch group worldwide. So Nicolas Hayek, when I went to see him, and I had the okay. It was a quick okay, by the way. I wondered why. And everybody told me he will never say he was Lebanese. He always says, I'm not Lebanese. And check him out. So I went there, and the guy, he received me. He had his tie, which was not well knotted, and his hair was not combed. And welcome, Mr. Karam. Let's have the interview. So we started the interview, and he loved the questions. That was well prepared. So first break. Tells me, I'm sorry. I need to go and come back in 1 minute. He comes back. His hair that was combed, his tie, well put, and for me it was weird. Change it. So look, Mr. Hayek, what happened? He told me, I respect you. I love your interview. I'm enjoying it. And it went on. It was one of the best interviews I've done. Then I did another one, which is even better 5 years after. And then a third one 5 years after. And I think he was my best person, or my favorite guest among the hundreds of guests I've hosted worldwide. Of course, we became friends. The last time I saw him, when he had his Légion d'honneur, was among the few ones invited to his house in Vienna, and I felt he was tired and sick. A few months after he left us. And every year, on the occasion of his death, I write something about him. I put some extracts from our interviews, and I tell stories that we both have shared together. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Ricardo. You have no idea what you have set yourself for. I'll be counting on you to get many of these people that you have interviewed to give mentoring talks here at AUB. This question
is... They are still alive, of course. Lucy and alive. Some generation, yeah.
This question is from Dr. Sahar Kubar from AUB-MC. Who is your role model?
My role model? I don't know. It's a tough question. I do not know if I have somebody I look up to.
Well, Sahar is a very tough lady, so of course her questions will be tough.
You know, I read a lot. It's true that I read a lot of books. I have a lot of writers and philosophers I dig into their work and I learn a lot from what they said, but I don't think there is someone who is, I wouldn't say a mentor to me, but a role model. Maybe I look to ordinary people. Maybe I look up maybe my mom, maybe my wife, because they've been through tough ordeals and they were remarkable, how they faced their upheavals with a smile, with courage, with hope, and without letting anybody around them feel the sorrow and the pain, the suffering. And yeah, those people, because I see them all the time, they mean a lot to me. Let's put aside, the affectionate part, but they mean a lot to me because when I look at them, I say, my God, went through a lot, and they were really remarkable in their struggle. So maybe they are, for me, role models.
Thank you. This question is from Dr. Ola Azzain. She is a librarian of the Medical Library at the UBMC. I have always enjoyed listening to your interviews with inspirational models, and today you are one of them. The first question, what was a clear-cut edge or one thing that made you shift from chemical engineering to journalism? And her second question, what is one inspirational thing that you still work on or dream of achieving after Takrim and all what you have done so far, and who is the inspirational figure that you still dream of interviewing? These are like a series of questions.
Great, thank you so much for those questions. The first one was about helping Dr. Kaafarani.
Clear-cut edge or one thing that made you shift from chemical engineering to journalism?
I belong to a generation where we had to pursue educational careers without even wanting to. I have a brother who's 1.5 years older, and he went into civil engineering, and my family wanted me to be a doctor. So when I joined the UB, I was pursuing my BS in chemistry first, and it was for me something I did not enjoy, and I didn't want to actually. I had very good grades, and I had to. And then I had to present my exams for the medical college admission test, the MCAT, and I was accepted to enter medical school. And maybe I was among the few ones who did not do it. And my family and people around me said, you went crazy. Somebody was accepted to go to medical school and doesn't do it. Someone who is abnormal, unbalanced. But it wasn't something I wanted to do. I had the courage to say no after 3 years of tough study. Chemistry is not an easy major, as you know. And I said, I'll never be happy. But I told my family, for you to be happy, I will pursue my study in chemical engineering, so I would have the title Bashmuhandis engineer. So this is what I've done. And I gave them the how do we say, degree. They were happy that I had 2 degrees, chemistry and chemical engineering. And then I did my MBA. I think all this mix, now looking at them, they shaped me, they made me who I am, they allowed me maybe to have those spontaneous chemical reactions without people, because I love people. And then when I meet anybody, we become friends right away. I become friends with the taxi drivers of the world, with the shoe shiners who come once a week to polish my shoes, etc. I talk to him, I learn. Tell so many things because those people know a lot. They hear a lot. They see a lot. So I love to talk to people. And maybe, this chemical background allowed me to have this spontaneous and automatic response with other people. And then, of course, the MBA helped me to have this business mind, to think rationally, and not to be creative at the time, and to have this artistic label, as Dr. Kaafarani said at the beginning. He said, an artist somehow. Yeah, I do have some creative aspect to me, but no, I'm very scientific, very rational, and maybe this mix of degrees. The second question was about
the question probably can answer somebody else's question as well. She's asking, what are you going to plan to do after Takreem? Zain Al-Khalil, a student from AUB, is asking you also, why did you start Takreem? What inspired you to start Takreem? And Dr. Ola is asking, what do you plan to do after Takreem?
Great. So plans after and why Takreem. Perfect. Like I said, I met those interesting self-made men and women. I remember I used to work at that time with MTV, and we used always to sit, Michel and myself, to see who am I going to host. Let's going through the different lists with a different guest list. And I was always wanting to have unknown people. And he was not so warm. Then, those people do not bring ratings. He was right. They do not bring ratings. I was telling him all the time, listen, you can start something now, and everybody's going to copy us. Something new, people will love it. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 people may not follow, but afterwards they will, and become a trend. And we try. This is how I got Nicola Hayek, I got Tom Barak, I got Carlos Wilson. But all those people were not known at all. I'm talking around the 90s. And all those people became comedy. And then afterwards, those kinds of shows were copied by TV stations, the Arab world, try to do something, with success stories and self-made men and women. So from those successes, I said, people are loving them. People need hope. People need inspiration. People need pushers. I need to be part of that. I need to ignite something that has never existed. People love work. By inspiring people and by organizing people, how we actually to check this. So the Takreem was created to be, so it becomes a platform of success stories of unknown people, unsung heroes. No prince, no king, president, not at all, but unknown. Work in silence that will have done a change in the respective fields. And we have tackled fields that are not commercial at all. Environment, sciences, innovation, education, culture, women, the Arab world. I'm not talking about women, sheikh, princess, etc. No. Women who work in Sudan, in Yemen, poor countries, who spend their time helping different communities, helping other women, etc. So this is that was the kind of types of women we're looking for. So Takreem was created to honor those individuals, so they become role models, the young generation. At the same time, we will be projecting a new image about the Arab world. We'll be inviting the international media, and we'll be asking them to talk about those individuals and to portray an image different from the stereotyped one. We are not fundamentalists. We are not extremists. We are not, belly dancers. We're much more than that. All the movies we watch and when they want to portray the Arab society, this is what they show. All movies, either we are terrorists or we are belly dancers, etc. Into the Arab world everywhere, Arab world, in terms of culture, education, researchers, etc. So this is why Takreem was founded, to be that beacon of hope, inspiration, and to be portraying the image, beautiful image of the Arab world. So what will I do after Takreem? every day there is, a new project today. I still have, that passion hasn't changed at all. Every single morning I wake up, I say, I've got something to achieve. I'm thankful to God. I hope I remain healthy so that the fertility of my dreams sustains and that I will keep on dreaming and thinking big. But if I want to be more realistic, I'd love, to see my kids big boy and to follow their dreams and to be next to them, to accompany them, and to witness their success and their happiness. This is definitely my biggest dream.
Thank you. Mustafa Vitar from AUB. He has typed the question twice or three times. I don't know why. He wants to know, what is your most embarrassing moment on TV?
The most embarrassing moment on TV? I think I haven't witnessed yet. I hope I will not. It might happen. But so far, I haven't been embarrassed on TV, no. And I'm somebody who is... I have a very strong character, and I'm not ashamed to say, yes, I have failed here, or I have not succeeded here, or this was, a flop in my career. Or I say it, and sometimes I say, those interviews were rot. They were really bad. No, I don't think I had something embarrassing. As far as I remember now, on February 2nd today, or February 1st? 2nd. No. 6:10 p.m. Do you remember anything about being embarrassed on something that we failed and we were bad? No, not as far as I remember. If you think, I had a leakage somewhere where I failed, please share it with me, and I will definitely comment on it. But I'm not recording at all myself, having witnessed it so far.
This question is coming from Samia Sayed and Jana Adnan. Apparently, they are sitting together. Both of them are medical students at AUB. At what point did you decide that journalism was a path for you? Did you always know, or was it a certain point in university? And they are putting question from two curious med students. I hope you're not considering to quit, ladies. Both of them were my students, and they were in my team before.
Ladies. Do not listen to anybody. Listen to your heart. We only live once. And I think this year, with the COVID thing, and with the blast of the root port, we have learned a lot, and we have learned to benefit out of every single second. Happiness is what matters. Okay? Do whatever you want to do. Don't listen to anybody. I don't know. At that time, we belong to different generations. And my generation, as I've told you, always been educated and trained to follow three different options, whether to go to law school, engineering, or medical school, and nothing else. We had no orientation, we had no mentoring, no coaching. Nobody came to us. Nobody told us, how life might be, how life might look like, what is waiting for us, what we are to be expecting. Nothing at all. It was pure blind. Nothing at all. When I was at school, I was always, although the youngest, picked to host the end of year theater presentations. All different generations. They used to have 5-10 minutes to do something, and I was the host. And I remember, I'm remembering now because now we are trying to fold our things while, being home and locked down. And I'm trying to look for those pictures. And I've been in touch with my school. And the photographer who was taking those pictures is still alive, thank God, and he was amazing, trying to help me. And he found some pictures that he sent me. The first time I hosted that event was wearing Bermudas, white Bermudas, and the blue shirt. I was too young. I think I was 10 years old. And it became recurring for 5 years in a row. And they used to to talk about the magazine of the school that I was Ricardo Jr. Ricardo is a French TV host. Michel Ricardo, one of the best ones. I don't know why he's into entertainment, but they used to say that, I was a junior one. I love that without even knowing that I love that. Then when I grew a little bit, I loved the music. I used to spend all my pocket money buying LPs at that time. For those who do not know what LPs mean, we did not have CDs at the time. We had the big one, big 45 and 33, 33 tours, Postronette. And I used to buy, and I used to love music. And I became a radio broadcaster. I used to have a show in French twice a week to talk about the different groups and singers and pop music and stars, etc. I love that. I love talking to people. But you think I have ever thought or considered becoming a professional one? Not at all. At that time, TVs had only, I think, one TV station, maybe Télé Liban, LBC, and then the radios were at their pinnacle, different radio stations, and I love that. And although I love that, I think my family ever asked me, would you like to pursue that? It did not exist as a profession, not that at all. And so now today, things are different. The whole world is a small village. And you can be anywhere in one day. I said it once on TV, and I'm repeating it once. I did 3 continents within 24 hours. The first time I went to the States, 25 years ago, maybe more, 30 years ago, it was, big thing. Crossing the Atlantic and landing Washington was very important. Now today, we travel for a weekend, put the COVID aside, of course. Travel every weekend, we're somewhere. So follow your heart. Do whatever you do. Life is too short and be happy.
Sorry we're keeping you, but there are so many other questions. If you don't mind, we can stay 10 more minutes, around 6:30, right? Is that okay? Thank you. So this question is coming from Joanne Zghaib. She's an undergrad student here at AUB. Thank you for the inspirational talk. In hard times like the ones we are facing today, what keeps you going?
Many things. I believe in that country. I believe in Lebanon. I have the chance of living abroad. We have other nationalities. We have a house outside Lebanon. And all my work is abroad. I have not made one single penny in Lebanon for the past 12 years. All my work is abroad. But we have made a choice, my wife and I, to remain in Lebanon. And we are so much engaged, besides being rooted, of course. We work a lot on the ground, in the field. And this is something we do not talk about. And of course, for years and years, I have exploited all my connections to work with tons of NGOs and individuals and to make the life of other people better. So do you imagine that today, after everything I've done, I'm going to quit and leave and have a better life and see my compatriots suffering and waking up every day and going to banks and making queues and waiting for hours, where I have a different lifestyle, where I'm enjoying myself, etc. No, it's not at all that. I believe in Lebanon. I believe that tomorrow will be better. And I'm not being poetic. We have tough years, of course, and in tough years, people need to struggle. And sometimes we think that in history, nations have changed their status, and they went from more difficulties to flourishing life and to pleasant and comfortable life, and they boosted their economy in an easy way. No, it took them years and years. It's true that we've been living wars, different kinds of wars, since the year 1975, but I think we were never as determined as we are today. we are counting a lot on you, the young generation, and I hope that you benefit from what we went through. And as I said before, I hope that you will have the chance of making all your senses work, listening to the other, and not judging the other. Don't be judgmental. Create an exchange with the other. Take from him and give from what you have. And this is how we're going to build, the Lebanon of tomorrow. So I believe in that Lebanon. And this is why I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to leave it.
Thank you. This question is from Omar Al-Shmouri. What are the 3 books you would recommend to students to read?
I nothing, because writings are always on a perpetual. We have everyday a flux, of books coming out, and publications coming out, and what is good today is not good tomorrow, and there's something better coming. I personally, and this is what I advise my kids, to read a lot, but not to be specific in the readings. Whatever they have, they need to read it. All kinds of books, from spirituality to philosophy, from novels to Sufism, to read everything, okay? And from everything we read, because we forget what we read. We need always to grab from the experience of others. Once they asked me, what is being educated? I told them, I said, education. Sometimes we see the guardian of a building, and the professor at university, with the same degree of culture. Because what culture is this? It's not education culture. What culture is about is to benefit from the experience of the other, to listen to the other, to read the other. So I think reading is very important, and whatever you have, book, magazine, iBook, podcast, all those things are very important to take the best out of everything you come across. Not only Netflix, and even Netflix is very important, but not only, series. Go and watch documentaries about Netflix. I watched not long time ago a documentary about, oh my God, what is it called? Octopus. And I encourage you, to watch it. It's a love story between a gentleman who's passionate about sea and about diving in the oceans and about, an octopus he found. And you see the story. It's amazing. Imagine a love story. Like, you love, a bird, you love, a cat, or a pet. You love that octopus, and I love that. And you will see the story of that octopus, how it starts and how it ends, and how he becomes attached to that octopus. It's something amazing. So also look for some documentaries. They're worthy being followed and watched.
So that question was from Omar Shmouri, who is an undergraduate economics student here at AUB. Now the question is from Jad Farhood, another undergraduate student at AUB. Were you always a great public speaker, or did you have to work on it?
Thank you. First of all, I don't find myself a great public speaker. I share stories, and I tell them or I narrate them the way I feel them. So I'm real in that. No, I've never followed any coaching on that. Although I give coaching lessons, but personally, no. I am who I am, very natural. The only thing I followed 10 years ago, was some coaching in Arabic language. My Arabic language has always been very strong, but I used to think French and translate into Arabic. And then I learned how to think Arabic. And now we always say, your language is very tuned. يعني the words you use, المصطلحات منمقة جدا. And I love it. I think we have, a beautiful language, not different from the language of Molière or of Shakespeare, and we need to benefit out of it and to use it and to dance with its different, its rich vocabulary.
This question is from Hussein Jabawi, AUB undergraduate student. And the question is, do you find living in the public eye difficult?
No, because I've never thought about it. Can you believe that? My lifestyle has never been part of a public scene. I never go to openings. I never go to big events. Never. I never attend premieres. I never go to red carpets. Although, of course, invited to all of what's happening in the Arab world. This is not something I've loved. This is not something I like. I do my work, and I let people or the critics to evaluate my work according to how they think of. Some people might love and they might praise, and other people might dislike and they might attack me to their own right. My life has always been very different. I'm a family person, and I have many friends all over the world, of course. Wherever I am, there's somebody waiting for me at the airport or in any port. And I am so fortunate to have been able to build up all those friendships. And those people have shown throughout those decades that they were really supportive in every single aspect. And even my guests, the people I have hosted, without even working on that, I became friends with my guests. I remember now when we had the blast, it was fourth blast. I don't think any of my guests has not called from over the world. And I'm talking about the big celebrity, the big names, royalty, head of state. And it shows you that in life, when you're real and with nothing to prove, when you're human, people find it so rare that they get attached to it and they do not want to let it go. So my friendships with all those people, as well as, of course, with my followers, the people who love me, it grew organically, exponentially, because there were true ties with nothing to impress with and nothing to brag about. I love it, and even in my writings or my different platforms, people feel that. They feel that genuine part and that real part.
3 more questions, I promise. This question is from Rain Zankar, an undergraduate biology student. How were you able to make takreem in a region where transparency and credibility are lacking?
Last question. It's not easy. It was so critical. And I have decided here to exploit or to benefit of the connections I have built up. I have called for the first time a lot of VIPs and posted asked them to join my board and to join my jury board. And they all said it. From Queen Noor Al-Hussein to Dr. Fatimi to Andrea Azoulay to Sheikh May Khalifa, from each Arab country have picked somebody. Yes. And they were all with me on a board that might think or that might not be able to go onwards. And that those went onwards and have succeeded. And they remained on the boat with me. And they are still here with me, backing me up. And by having them united every year and meeting up all together, I have no voting voice at the meeting, and they are the ones who choose who are the winners. I think, when you have such caliber of people, you cannot but understand. But I'm presenting is what we have bylaws that are very difficult. It's a very difficult mechanism of selection, complex, not easy, but that's what made Takrim different from all the award initiatives there.
This question is from Dr. Samar Sadiq, a faculty member at AUB. Thank you so much for the excellent talk. I would like to ask about the Lebanese flag behind you. Why did you choose it as a background?
Thank you. Here I'm at my office. I come to the office every morning. I'm the only one here. Nobody comes, of course, because of Corona. So we do all our meetings via Zoom. And this is, my personal office. It's a bit big, my office here. And this is a painting I bought not long time ago from a Lebanese painter in Canada. And I'm so proud of it. My offices are here close to the port. So the port of Beirut is here. And everything was destroyed. There was nothing left in my office. And we had to rebuild everything from scratch. And this is not the first time. It happened to me in 2012 when Sam Hassan was killed. I had at that time my offices in Sassin, and he was killed underneath my office. And we were badly injured, 9 employees and myself, and we had to build the office, and we did start again. And this time it was more savage, and it was more damaging, and nothing remained. But as I told you, I believe in Lebanon, and I have rebuilt it, and I'm happy to be back here. And so when all of the paintings went, so this was a new painting I bought, and it's always here. I know that this flag protects me, and at the same time, it's my obligation to protect it as well. So it's a win-win situation.
Last question, though there are still many other questions, but I know we have kept you for a long time. This question is coming from Sahar Hamzi. You published recently a picture of you with the legend Larry King. What is the best lesson that you have learned from Larry?
I think Larry King, one of his biggest strengths is that he was a great listener. And he wasn't that TV host that wanted to ask a question, think of the next one, trying to corner his guest to be the diva and to be the star. This is something I have learned, that you are a star when you have the A-class guest in your shows, because they trust you, because they believe in you, because they know that you are the one who should interview them. This is when you succeed. It's not when you want to play the diva in an interview and to corner and to make fun of your guest. This is it's not at all Larry. And he was someone I followed for years. I've met him. So I did that with Oprah as well. Those are people, not because they embraced fame and they became one of the biggest names worldwide, because they earn my respect and the respect of most of the people worldwide. And respect is the most important value one can eventually gain. You might like me, but not like me. Many people do not like me, not like my work. They do not like my personality, my presence. I respect that. But all of those people, they respect me. They respect my work. Except, of course, you have some people who are very negative and rate everybody. But in general, it's important that the people, the public figures, you might not like what they do, but at least respect their career, their itinerary, and the respect they impose on themselves by keeping the distance with the other, because distance is very important. respecting the freedom of the other when they respect your own freedom.
Well, once again, I want to thank you, Ricardo, for this beautiful mentoring talk. I want to thank you on behalf of all the attendees. I want to also thank all of the people who have joined us from Lebanon and abroad. And I hope we will see you very soon on AUB campus. And until our next mentoring talk on February 18th, so long. Thank you all. We don't have audience right now to upload for you, so I'm going to be the one uploading for you. Thank you again, Ricardo.
Thanks to you, Professor Kaafarani. Thanks to everybody. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.